FFWiki.fandom.com. Is that the website?
FinalFantasy.fandom.com.
FinalFantasy.fandom.com, that's the website?
Yes.
Okay. FinalFantasy.fandom.com. That's the website. This is the podcast. Hello. I am your host, BlueHighwind. Joining me tonight are the three greatest admins in the world, except for the admins that aren't here right now. Those people are also great. We love you. Hope that you can join us someday soon. With me is ScatheMote.
Hello.
SomeColorMage.
Hi.
And Technobliterator!
Hello, thank you to my adoring fans of 0 people.
Yeah, what do you think of the new high energy opening to the show?
I love the new high energy opening to the show.
New high energy opening to the
We're
show.
almost here in prime time.
Yes, maybe this is how I'll open all of them, but maybe I should remember what the website's called. At some point, I'll know what the website's called. Okay, so it is now August 2021 at the time of recording, and at the time of posting, it will still be August 2021. Last month, we had a gigantic slew of news, just tons and tons of things to talk about. This month, there really isn't all that much news, so I guess we'll just start with what people have been playing. Who wants to go and talk about things they've been playing?
I'll go first. The last game I played was the Ace Attorney Chronicles game. They were the new Ace Attorney game they released on Steam. If you happen to like the most accurate representation of 19th century British law, then it's definitely worth playing. As we know, British law involves things like cross-examining the jury, every single member of the courtroom turning out to be a villain at some point. All the good things.
Yeah.
But no, seriously,
jurors allowed to announce their verdict in the middle of the trial, stuff like that.
Exactly. Anyway, it's actually a great game. You get 2 of them, and it's worth playing if you happen to like the series. And it's a good place to start off if you haven't played one before. And I think it's it's kind of expensive, but you do get 2 games, and it is a decent 35-ish hours of content. So, which is, as we know, $1 equals 1 content, 1 like equals 1 prayer, and therefore the game is about 35 prayers long, and therefore can save at least 6 children from the horrors of having to take remedial math in South Carolina.
Okay.
Anyway, so yeah, this month, well, I guess, it's technically last month, but within a 3-day window, we had the release of Great Ace Attorney Chronicles, Neo The World Ends With You, and the first 3 Pixel Remasters, which is very annoying because I like all of these things.
Yeah, it is a deluge of gaming stuff, and it's just going to get worse. Have you seen September's list?
That was exactly the same with me when they released Ratchet & Clank Rift Apart. At the same week, they released Final Fantasy VII Remake Integrate, except I run the wiki for both of them, and I have to write all the content for both of them. So I know exactly how you feel, dude.
Oh, man. Yeah. I have not been able... Oh, sorry. Yeah.
There is definitely more stuff coming that I'm interested in later this year, but I don't know if it's all bunched up like that, and with the other 3 Pixel Remasters I've already bought those, so it doesn't really matter when they come out, but at the same time, okay, when's Metroid Dread? October?
That's right? October, I believe, yeah. And Shin Megami Tensei 5 is November.
I was so heartbroken that wasn't Metroid Prime, because I've never played a Metroid Prime before, and I want to try one on a Switch.
Well, just wait for Metroid Prime 4 in 2024. That's what the 4 stands for. It's 2024.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have...
4 is the number of times we had to reboot development.
I've been playing Neo Twoey, which is how you say that game's name, right? It's Neo Twoey. Anyway,
I think that's how you make it short, yeah.
Yeah, it's Twoey. It's Neo Twoey. It doesn't stand for anything, it's just Twoey. You sound ridiculous doing it, but Anyway, I've been playing that, and I have not been able to get to Great Ace Attorney Chronicles. I can't get to 12 minutes yet because that's not on PlayStation or Switch, so I don't know how I'm going to play that. Oh my god, there's so much coming out. Sable's coming out next month. And what the hell? What was that? What's the Bethesda game? The time
Which
loop.
Bethesda game?
The one coming out. Deathloop, yeah.
The Outer Wilds. The Wilds of More Outer.
No, not that one. I don't care about that one. Oh wait, no, I do. That's the Outer Wilds DLC. Oh my god, that's coming out too. Oh man. Oh, there's just not enough time. And then last month. Not last month, but last week, Boyfriend Dungeon dropped the same day as Axiom Verge 2, and then a third game, and I looked at both those things, and I'm like, I don't have time to play any of this. There's no way on earth I'm going to get to this.
Oh, I know that feeling.
Oh, there's too many video games.
Video games will be directly injected into you with like a nicotine patch, and you don't even have to experience it anymore. It's just the secret.
I would take it if you could like condense like 20 hours of a video game into a patch and experience all of it instantly. That would really save me a lot of time. Also, if I could condense like writing, let's say you're writing maybe 20,000 words about Evangelion, which is what I'm doing right now. If you could condense that to about 5 minutes, that would save me a lot of time.
Well, unfortunately, the only way we can do that is if everyone turns into orange goo. It's a bit of a hard sell for some people. It's
the fandom instrumentality project is what I'm working on.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So I think I'm the only one who hasn't gone yet.
Oh yeah, sorry.
As I alluded to, the game I've been playing recently, obviously, is Ratchet & Clank Rift Apart. And I am a long-time fan of the series. I've played literally every single game. I've played them since I was a little kid. So my perspective will be the perspective of a long-time fan seeing what the new one is like. And so my thoughts on it are basically that I put it around the third or fourth best in the series overall. Because, like, on the one hand, you have, like, the obviously good stuff is, like, the graphic, you know, the collection of weapons. This is the best arsenal they've ever had in the series, like, by far. It's the best voice acting they've ever had, like, not even close, really. Even the old voice actors from the previous games give their best performances here. Like, except, like, David K as Clank was slightly less good than a crack in time, but even still, he was pretty solid. Like, James Arnold Taylor, he just nailed his role. So all
wait. James Arnold Taylor, who does he play?
He plays Ratchet.
What?
And he plays Ratchet. That's why he sounds exactly like Tidus from FF10.
I did not connect those two voices at all. Okay. Yeah, Tidus does sound like a rodent. That fits.
Sure. Yeah. So, also the other good things are this is the first time they've done a good female character since the second game with Angela Cross. Like, because River is an excellent character. He's very good. So the only criticisms I have of the game basically are that they way overused the enemies, even more so than previous games did. The enemies were still way overused. And, like, the writing, even though this makes the best argument for the series being written more like a Pixar game than previous games have done, because, like, the first few entries were more like a Futurama episode in terms of the writing. And then they ended up being more like a Pixar film ever since the PS3 days, pretty much. This makes the best argument for that, but I still don't feel like they went far enough with it. They didn't lean quite far enough into their infinite universes stuff. Like, I feel like there's a lot of interesting stuff they set up with this alternate dimension, and then they just don't answer a lot of the questions that some of them are fortunate. And I never quite felt that moment at the end of every Pixar film where there's this, they have that one sequence that is bound to make you cry. And this game just doesn't have that. So it doesn't quite reach Pixar level quality. But very solid game.
Into the furnace halfway through the game.
Wait, there's sequences that make you cry in the other games?
No, in Pixar films.
Oh, okay.
In this game, the closest in this series is probably the very first game when Clank speaks to his mother, which is a robot factory, and she was proud of him all along and he never knew it. That was probably like the closest to it.
Oh, that's really cute. I want to see that.
It was.
Oh.
It was quite adorable. But yeah, unfortunately, like I feel like even though they've done the best job of this style of writing than previous games, they haven't quite nailed it yet. So I'm excited to see what they do next. I hope they address the criticisms, but they're nearly there, but not quite there.
Yeah, in self-promotion, I did write a review of this game where I came to the conclusion that it was deeply uninteresting, which I'm sorry about. I feel like a dick coming to that conclusion, but...
Did you enjoy the game?
Yeah, in the review, I recommend it heartily. I just don't think it's a very memorable game. And I would think like the...
Okay, so...
Yeah.
Yeah, so I was just going to say, I agree with that. Like, because they have an interesting setup with the Infinite Universes theme, and with the whole, like... There are a lot of mental health themes that they touch on, but never quite go into deep enough.
Yeah, we should move on real fast because we are turning into the Ratchet and Clank wiki, which we're not. I'll just end on...
Which I run.
Yes, which you run, self-promotion. In self-promotion mine, BlueHighwind.blogspot.com. At some point, I'll have a better website, but who knows. I would say it's not like a Pixar movie, it's more like a DreamWorks movie, or... You know what it reminds me of?
Yeah,
it reminds me of a movie called Sing, which I think is Fox or Sony.
Oh, I don't think it's that bad.
I have nothing against the movie, or Pets. Pets is another one, where it's like, I have nothing against this. I think it's very well done. It's not for me. And I think they could be going further in places. Anyway, we do have... What? Sorry?
No, I was just agreeing with you.
Okay. You just made a yelping noise. I wanted to know what it was. Very excited. Okay.
Oops.
We need to move on to one of our topics at hand, one of the bigger ones. It is the Final Fantasy Pixel Remaster for Final Fantasy 1, Final Fantasy 2, and Final Fantasy 3. They've come out on iOS and Steam and Android, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So those came out on July 28th of last month. I'm correct on that, right? I don't have this in front of me.
I think so.
I should be...
Well, I had the page for Final Fantasy 3 open on the wiki, but we haven't added the Pixel Remaster dates to that one for some reason, so...
Oh well.
Whoops.
Add July 28th now. If we say it's true, it's true. Just do it.
We decide.
Yeah, of knowledge.
Yeah, we decide what it was. And I've decided that it was either July 28th or somewhere around then. Those three games have come out, and SomeColorMage, you've actually played them, so what's your thoughts?
Right, yeah, I've finished 1 and 2, and I've nearly finished 3. I'm in the middle of the World of Darkness at the moment. So first of all, that's one of the good features of the current version of Final Fantasy 3. It has a quick save feature that isn't fucking stupid, which already fixes most of the problems with that big ending gauntlet where you couldn't save anywhere because this was before Square Enix invented save points. Anyway, I feel that these are really good remasters. Like, as a game themselves, they're not really going to be groundbreaking because these are 3 games that were written for the NES in the 1980s, and they do reflect the times of which they were made in a just mechanical sense. But they're still, I think they actually are the best remakes that they've actually made of these games, even if they are missing some of the later content that was added in later remakes. I feel like things have been rebalanced to feel more authentic to the originals while still being a little easier. Like, Final Fantasy 1 does break a little bit once you get that item that you can just use to cast heal at every turn, but other than that, it still feels rather challenging. The Final Fantasy 2 is the only version of Final Fantasy 2 that I've ever managed to to put up with for more than an hour. So, I mean, that's already proof that the damn thing's improved. Even if I still don't really like 2. And also, I guess with 3, it's just I really don't like the 3D versions of 3. I think that like we know what happened with the enemy tuning. They couldn't make the game support more than 4 enemies on screen at once on the DS, so they just massively ratcheted up the difficulty of individual enemies to compensate.
Is that what they did?
Still just doesn't. Yes, that's what they did.
Okay.
But it didn't. But the end result felt really bad, and this returns
Yeah, it wasn't
things,
well balanced.
This returns things more towards the original version, while still keeping in a few of the abilities that the 3D version introduced. And
Interesting.
I feel that keeps a good balance. And in some cases, they did just rework the class again, like Dark Knight. Dark Knight doesn't have Soul Eater, but it gets its own group attack. So they have done. It doesn't. It feels very much like a third branch of development.
Interesting.
Like this is the case for all of them, because they've sort of split from. Like you can say, the history of all these games, they kind of diverted into a new type of game, like in the Game Boy Advance era, because Dawn of Souls for 1 and 2 introduced a whole bunch of new things and very much reworked how Final Fantasy 1 worked, put in a few features for 2 that made things a lot less of a pain in the ass. And before this, the only other version of 3 was a complete from the ground up remake. And these feel more like kind of like trying to find the middle ground between them.
Okay. You've managed to play all 3 in the last month? How long are these?
I'm unemployed at the moment.
Oh, I'm sorry. But still, these are, Final Fantasy games. They're not short.
Yeah, but these are the NES ones. They're like 12 hours.
Okay. I remember them being longer. I don't know. You know what? I was playing on the Game Boy Advance and the DS, and these were like the hardest nails ones, so... I mean,
the thing is, like, the game's length is kind of artificially increased based on the fact that the game doesn't really tell you what to do in a lot of them. Like, you have to go around, you have to run around talking to different NPCs, and they might give you a vague clue as to where to go next. But for the most part, you're gonna need a walkthrough.
Yeah, like, I know enough about what I'm doing that I can sequence break parts of 3, so...
I was gonna ask if you were using, like, a booster of some kind. What's up?
No, there's no cheats or anything included, but, like, sequence breakers, parts of 3 are fairly open-ended, so you can do things like get the Earth Crystal jobs before the story actually directs you there. And that is actually quite a big boost, because, Summoner, Devout, and Magus are actually really powerful.
Okay.
Not as powerful as Sage and Ninja, because this is 2D version, so those 2 jobs are deliberately broken.
Oh yeah, those were broken on the NES.
The real question is, did they make the barge job playable in this version of Final Fantasy 3? Because I remember the original NES version is the barge job is legitimately worthless.
They are frail as hell, but put a few job levels into them, and their healing ability can replace the White Mage for random battles.
Remember, they couldn't heal in the original version of the game. All they could do in the original version of the game is scream at enemies and try to make them run away, is what they did.
That's a great ability.
It never worked.
But it's...
they basically have the songs from the remake, but instead of being tied to a specific weapon, you actually learn them as your job level increases.
Okay, so basically they completely reworked it into something useful.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Have you gotten up to Garuda yet? That wind boss?
Yes.
Okay, is he fucking insanely stupid like he was on the DS?
And he's not as stupid because agility mostly works now, but I did still have to grind a bit and get a few extra wind spears.
Okay.
In the 3D version, every single boss attacks like 6 times per turn or something ridiculous like that.
Usually 2 and then 3 by the end. And this guy, he could party wipe you with 1 move. It's a boss with a party wipe move. It's insane. And he could do it twice.
Yeah,
and you're guaranteed game over if he did it twice.
Yeah, because the idea is... because like the idea was that in the NES version, if you use jump, you're pretty much guaranteed to go before the boss. So you'd use jump, they'd all jump, the lightning would miss, you'd come down, do huge damage, while the first lightning would hit you, usually have enough health to tank 1 hit, so you just do it again, and goes down in 4 rounds. And that is mostly the case in this version. Sometimes the agility roll can go really bad, and one of your characters gets hit in the first round before they go up. But yeah, that's basically the expected strategy.
Okay, my question for you now is, what do you think of how these games are presented? Because I've seen that they've redone all of the sprites. In effect, it looks like kind of 16-bit-ish. And also, the music seems to be fully orchestrated. Like, it sounds like real instruments now. Do you think those two things go together? Hello?
I mean, I guess...
okay, you're here. Got worried I lost you.
Going wrong.
Okay. Can I hear you?
Okay, so...
Alright.
Is everything okay, or is...
I think everything's fine. I'm just making a note that we have become disconnected in our conversation. So I'll just cut out those last 20 seconds of nothing.
Yeah, okay. So the... I guess when it comes to a lot of these things, I really never really cared if audio was more faithful to the original, because, and while it's impressive what could be done with NES and Super Nintendo sound chips, it still wasn't, some sort of... It's not something I feel like there's a deliberate need to emulate unless you are specifically going for something in that specific style. And
right, like Shovel Knight.
Yeah, and also the rearranged music is really, really good. And some people just go and it's all Uematsu, but no, he's like supervising a team of 10 composers for this, and there's and it's very good work. And the sprite work, I guess what they've gone for feels a bit of a middle ground between 5 and 6, because 6 had a huge graphical boost back in the day.
Just to clarify, you're talking about 6 SNES and 5 SNES, not
yes,
the...
SNES.
Right, not the port versions.
We haven't. I mean, like, even if you compare 5 Advanced and 6 Advanced, there is a noticeable graphical increase in a big upgrade in graphics going to 6, because with 6 they did away with on the world map everything's tiny and just use battle sprites everywhere. But I'm not really that. God, I'm having a hard time putting my thoughts together now.
What's it?
Like, the general thing is just I like how these look.
Mm-hmm.
There's obviously some people, not some people, nearly all of us really did not like how the previous mobile and PC versions of 5 and 6 looked.
I didn't hate it, but I didn't I'm not an advocate for it, if that makes sense. It didn't put me off, but I wouldn't be like, oh, this is how it should look from now on.
It looked like fucking dog shit.
And it was a bit of a shame, because the enemy sprite work in those versions was excellent. It was basically just very high high fidelity versions of the original, while the character sprites look like that.
Dude, Behemoth in FF6, the port, and like Kaiser Dragon and Bahamut, those look ridiculously good in the port versions.
Yeah, and higher fidelity versions of the original artwork is pretty much what they're doing in these versions. It's not as high as as those versions, but still very very nice, very crisp looking, and better quality than the originals, while still evoking the same sort of thing. Because I know some people will have, like, you just compare the enemy sprites in Final Fantasy 1, and they basically just redid the whole lot for PlayStation.
Yeah,
And
there was some, like, I think some people noticed there were a few, like, coloration problems where, like, they would change the color of the field sprite and not change the color of the battle sprite.
Wait, which version are we talking about now? Is the coloration problems are in the new version or the PlayStation version?
Right, that's a Pixel Remaster thing, because the field sprites are almost entirely based on a mixture on the GBA games, and it's not a complete remake of the GBA game, but a lot of the sprites, field sprites, you can look at and just think, oh hey, that's from Final Fantasy V Advance, and it is mostly 5. For record, most of the generic NPCs seem to have been taken from 5.
Huh.
All of the pirates now look like Faris's underlings.
Interesting.
But yeah, the enemy sprites are very faithful to the originals. And yeah, that does sometimes result in those coloration conflicts, but I don't see that as much of a problem, because most of the coloration conflicts is just some guy in a robe covering their entire body because they're an enemy, and well, yes, that's probably not, it really doesn't matter that this character has a robe that looks a different color from their sprite, because they're about to immediately take it off and to reveal that they're a floating head with a dozen tentacle heads.
Yeah, I mean, it's more of just a curiosity.
Yeah.
Right, it's more of just a little nitpick, a little curiosity, really. It's not like, oh wow, they ruined the game.
I don't think it's a problem.
I don't think this is a bad port. I think the job that was done seems to be fully competent. The Final Fantasy III battle music I've heard that was remixed that has an actual guitar. That sounds pretty damn awesome. I don't know why they're doing this. I still don't know why they did this and why they didn't just take, say, the GBA version and put that on Steam if they wanted a perfectly functional version. You can do that.
Well, they did that. They did that, and you all trashed it. It was the 5 and 6 ports.
No, that's not the GBA version.
With the mobile
yes, it is. Yes, it is. Under the hood, that is the GBA version. They've actually hacked the 5 and 6 ports.
Yeah, but
found that beneath it is an emulator for the GBA, and they've just put their graphics on top of that.
Yeah, that's why it looks like shit. They shouldn't have done that. It looked fine on the GBA. Or even...
So you just said, oh, they need to just put GBA on the new platforms. Right? And then I've said, okay, they did that. And you're like, oh, no, that sucks too.
Yeah, because they didn't do that. They obviously didn't. It's completely different. It looks different. It looks bad.
The problem is they made it look. It looks terrible. That's the problem. Is they made it look awful.
Yeah. All right. So
there are some, even if you discount the sprite work, there are some serious graphical presentation problems in the older versions of 5 and definitely 6. 6, the old 16 mobile version is the game that represented ATB by having the characters menu slowly pop up from below the screen. That doesn't actually convey information. That actually makes it harder to see when turns are coming up.
I haven't I haven't quite finished my thought, which is like, this is the most available version, but I still feel like on some level Final Fantasy 1, 2, 3, all the previous versions should have been available in some way, or at least even the originals. I don't know why they keep revisiting history. It's like every 10 years...
The 3D version is still available.
Yeah, I know, but
the 3D version of FF3 is still available.
It's like in 10 years when we have computers that are injected in pill form, they're going to go and remake it yet a, 18th time, and it's going to look roughly the same. It's still going to kind of look like high-class sprites. It's like, why do you keep doing this? You've done this work already. It is all there, and you just keep revisiting the same well, and it's never authentic to any previous experience.
Well, my question to you in response to that would be, what version of FF1 to 3 would you be happy with them releasing and putting available on current platforms?
I want them to do the hardcore Criterion Collection version, where you get every single version. You get one on the NES, you get the PlayStation version, you get the WonderSwan version, you get the GBA version, the PSP version, the iOS version, all of them. Even this new one. Throw it in. You get 8 games in one. Just all of history. All of history is on there. If you want all that nonsense, it's there.
I agree, though. They should be able to allow you to mix and match. Like, you can turn on the GBA MP, for example, from the first game, and put in the bonus dungeon or whatever. I mean, obviously you wouldn't be able to do that in the original NES version, but I feel like you should be able to, if you're going to remake it anyway, you might as well give us the option to play with
I do agree with that, definitely, and for instance, FF7 Remake, they said, okay, well, not everyone's on board with the new battle system, so we're going to give you classic mode. I wouldn't have a problem with them for, if they wanted to do Pixel Remaster, where they say, okay, well, we're going to give you classic mode, which is there's no MP for FF1 and 2, but you also have, modern mode? I don't know, whatever they want to call it, where this version has MP.
And it's so strange they don't have the bonus dungeons from the GBA PSP versions. Just such a weird decision.
I think that makes sense because
it makes a bit of sense for one because they switch back to the old style of MP and Soul of Chaos.
Yeah, that's what
really
I mean. Those dungeons were balanced around a completely different set of mechanics.
Yeah, Soul of Chaos is really not balanced for the way that Final Fantasy 1 Pixel Remaster is set up, but it doesn't really explain why Soul of Rebirth is missing.
Oh yeah, that's big story stuff. Yeah, that's huge story stuff. That
that one I'm not sure about. I don't know why they didn't include it, other than the fact that we're only recreating the original. We're not creating stuff that was added onto the original.
This is gonna... Oh man, this is gonna suck for 6, because you're not gonna be able to do what's the bonus dungeon in that?
The Dragon's Den. The only part of the whole game that's actually difficult.
That's a great bonus dungeon. I
love Dragon's Den. It's really good. A shame. I'm gonna be honest, I also really like the bonus dungeon in FF5. I thought that was great. Even though, okay, you're fighting Omega again, you're fighting Shinryu again. Okay, fine. But you also fight Enuo. Enuo is pretty freaking cool.
Oh, you know what? I forgot. I forgot all about that, and yeah, that is a pretty great bonus dungeon too. It's been a while. Great, yeah. It's been a while.
It was great fun. I enjoyed it. I think that's a lot of fun to get through. So it will be disappointing to see those absent from 5 and 6. There's also a bonus dungeon in FF4 GBA, which was
Lunar Ruins.
I never got that far in the GBA version, so I don't know.
Which was weird because it was basically like a precursor to the After Years in a way, where it's every character gets their own chapter, even though there wasn't too much to it.
Describing something as a precursor to the After Years is like describing nausea as a precursor to food poisoning.
Yeah. Well, Final Fantasy IV is just the prequel to the After Years. We all know that. It's the inferior.
Well, I will say that can we transition at this point to what we think of how 4 to 6 will look like.
Well, I was gonna get to that because we're not quite in news, but there has been some news already. A few days ago, maybe like a week ago now, they posted some kind of live stream, and we got like the first 10 minutes of Final Fantasy IV Pixel Remaster, which it looks like Final Fantasy IV to me. It's orchestrated.
Also, like yesterday at the time of this recording, the Steam store page for the Final Fantasy IV Pixel Remaster did get updated. So, based on the timing of the first 3, we can sort of expect 4 to be coming out in around a month or so.
So, do you think they're going to do 4? You think they're going to do 4, 5, and 6 at once, or they're going to stagger them out even longer?
I think they'll.
I think they're getting staggered out at this point.
That's
okay. That's interesting. Yeah. Okay. I would have assumed it would be like 1 to 3, but like it by the looks of it, they might still have quite a bit of work to do on 5 and 6.
I mean, I got a few reasons for this. First of all, is just that they're bigger games, and like you can even see this in the pricing.
Much bigger.
1 and 2 are much cheaper than 3. While 3 is about 3, I think is the same price as the SNES ones. And the other thing is, while 4's theme page has been updated, 5 and 6 haven't.
Okay.
So
yeah,
that makes sense. That makes sense.
I predict many arguments to come in the future when we see the Final Fantasy VI Pixel Remaster. I have a feeling.
Oh yeah, 6 is the one. Like 6 is the one with the most hardcore fan base, including me. Hi. 6 has a very hardcore fan base, and that's a game that you don't want to mess with. Like
that's a game.
If you thought that there were like hardcore fans of FF7 that were pissed off with remake, wait till you get a load of what's gonna happen when 6 gets released on a new platform. Like, trust me, they are gonna come out of the woodwork and they are not gonna be happy.
That is a very beloved game, and people are gonna want that game to look how it looked on the Super Nintendo, pixel by pixel.
It's a very good game, so it deserves its fan base, and I'm not criticizing my fellow FF6 fans out there. I'm just saying that, like, you guys are impossible to please.
It's not impossible to please.
The Blitz is easier.
Yeah, it's not impossible to please. People just wanted to look how it looked. Like, it's not like Link to the Past has been ported to other things.
Because with 6, like, I feel like 6 probably did the best job graphically on the SNES on the series. And that's just
fine.
Yeah, like, because with 6 they did, like, they nailed so well, like, really getting the absolute most out of that system to just make a graphical style that really worked well, and it really like set the right atmosphere and the right tone for it, and etc. And like where I do agree with a lot of the critics of the iOS port is that the coloration of the iOS port for FF6 was not faithful to that whatsoever. Like,
no.
It completely ruined that. Like, and that's the like probably most poignant criticism of that port that I completely agree with. Anyway, but with 4, so I feel like Final Fantasy 4, like, it does definitely have its fan base, but I feel like 4 is a game you can't really go wrong with, just because 4 is a very, like, it's the most standard classic Final Fantasy, and I don't mean that in a bad way at all. I mean, it's just like, it's very standard. You know, you've got your cast of characters that represent basically all of the different job classes. You got a very basic system of like, oh, you just level up and you get new abilities. You know, you've got your typical scenarios that play out, and you know, it's a standard Final Fantasy. So I feel like, you know, the Pixel Remaster of 4 is probably gonna be fine. Like, I can't really see a scenario in which they screw it up.
Okay. I say we should move on to our other news.
Well, it is. Like, but the thing is, like, with Final Fantasy IV, the 3D version, that's not really strongly disliked. I mean, people found it very challenging, but there's not much of a backlash among Final Fantasy IV fans who are like, oh my god, this version ruined it, blah blah blah. No, it was kind of like, it's like, okay, it is what it is. I wish you made the 2D version available for everyone, which they're doing with Pixel Remaster now. But, you know, like, the 3D version exists, and it has people that like it.
Okay.
So, yeah, I mean, I think 4 is hard to be a divisive game.
I will try again.
My only big concern regarding 4 is whether or not they've done a translation pass on it, because, yeah, there are the 2D and 3D versions of 4, and they do have different scripts, and it's mainly a difference of the 3D script is more accurate, while the 2D script's easier to read.
Okay.
Right.
Can everyone hear me, by the way?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, alright.
And I do remember an interview with Slattery, the translator of the 3D version, that he did offer to write a unified script when the PSP version was under development, so like, you know, one that you know, is a bit easier to read, but also corrects some of the glaring errors that you can trace back to them not wanting to go with errors that you can trace back to like the PSX version, because of course it got completely retranslated then because the SNES version was a complete train wreck. But you know, fixing up some of those problems while still trying to make not having the same sort of problems that, you know, you can't have someone who is not really very familiar with like, you know, deeply understanding the English language to understand that 3D version, because it uses a lot of language and phrasing that's, you know,
well, the thing with Final Fantasy IV
Hollywood
3D,
archaics.
the thing with 4 3D is that they did slightly expand the script and they added a few things to the story. So, for instance, they added in Golbez's backstory, which was a decent addition. You know, it was like a short little scene. It wasn't too long.
Oh yeah, he was a tiny baby.
Added it in.
Twist.
Yeah,
turns
they
out
showed us
Golbez
what
was
it
a
was
tiny
like.
baby. Yeah.
Yeah, you know, they showed us what it was like before, you know. It was fine. And then like but the main change for me that I thought was like an improvement for Final Fantasy IV, because I remember like I played the 3D version of 4 before I played the 2D version, and I remember when I played the 3D version of 4, I thought Rubicante was this really cool badass villain. I was like, "Oh my god, this is such a great scene," and like he's taunting Edge. He's taunting Edge and like, oh, he's a great villain and he's like destroyed this whole town and blah blah blah. And then you get to Final Fantasy IV 2D and it's just like, oh, he's just another standard one of the fiends. He's not that interesting, you know, and he's not that cool. Wait. I felt like quite disappointed.
I suddenly had a memory of something recent, and I feel like, did I dream this? Where there was some kind of reveal recently that Kain and Barbarisha were supposed to be like an item.
I think that was a hoax.
That was a hoax? Ah, damn it. I like that, though.
You didn't dream it, but it still wasn't real.
Oh.
Is that what they're doing in the Pixel Remaster? Where they just like
They
adding a scene with Barbarisha?
We're gonna randomly ship characters just to annoy people. So, Umaru and Celis, turns out they're the one true pairing.
No,
Oh,
we're
God.
going all out on the relationship stuff. The SNES Pixel Remasters, they're all going to be R-rated.
Yeah. Final Fantasy V, finally the harem anime it was always supposed to be.
So yeah, so I don't anticipate there being too many changes to Final Fantasy IV. I anticipate it being very much like the original 2D version of it on the SNES. Will people miss those bonus dungeons? Not for Final Fantasy IV, I don't think. They were alright, but I don't think they weren't that exciting.
Okay.
Like I did like because you know, in addition to the Lunar Ruins, it's because the advanced version of 4 gives you all of the party members except
Yeah,
for
you can
Teller,
use any of them.
except for
You just
Teller
need to go
and
back to the
Lucia
video.
back, and it also gives you that dungeon that allows you to bring all of them up to speed. And
Right.
I thought that was nice, but it's not something fundamental to the experience.
Right, yeah,
saying-
the thing...
Okay, we
Yeah, the
can
thing with,
probably
Blue
save all this Final Fantasy IV for when Final Fantasy IV actually comes out.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah,
That's fair.
I'll have plenty to say about Final Fantasy IV in that time.
Before we get to our next topic, I have one piece of news
Yes.
that I don't think we covered last episode. Okay, there was a novel for Final Fantasy VII Remake that was based on Tifa, currently Japanese only, and it was recently released. So there's a few new bits of lore details, and I imagine I'm the only one familiar with it, so I can summarize it if you guys want.
What is this novel? I have not.
As I saw, but I
The
haven't
novel,
read it.
the novel was written by Nojima, and it was it's basically set during the next part, except that it discusses their backstory. So it's
Okay.
like, oh, Tifa and Aerith are on their way to Calm. Then Tifa explains her backstory.
Okay.
Aerith is in the cargo ship, and then she explains her backstory.
Wait, this is all remake and they're jumping that far ahead?
Yes, it's remake, but we don't learn stuff that's going to happen in the future parts. We only learn like previous stuff.
Okay. Oh, wait, I think I've heard about this. And one of the revelations
Trace
on
of
this
Tupac.
is that Aerith has memories of the past, just like we suspected.
Right.
She remembers the previous loops of this Final Fantasy VII Evangelion rebuild thing that we're doing.
Yeah, so
She remembers that time when Cloud hit a soccer ball and it turned out to be a bomb. That's a terrible timeline.
She remembers the cloud that loved flowers. She remembers the cloud that etc. etc. The whole Final Fantasy 13-2 speech.
So with Aerith, there weren't that many things about her backstory from there that we didn't already know, because there was already another novelization of Aerith that was also written by Najima.
On
and
the
it
way
was
to a
also for
smile.
Seven Remake.
Yeah.
No, it wasn't that one. On the
Oh.
Way to the Smile was ages ago. No, this was...
A maiden
This
who
was
travels
more-
the planet.
That wasn't written by
that's,
Nojima.
that's the one that people got mad at us for on Twitter because that's
Yeah.
by Nojima.
Wait, what were they mad about? I didn't quite catch that.
They were mad. They were mad because it's not written by Nojima, and
Okay.
we mentioned it as a thing that happened. So they're like, "Oh, that's not canon because it ships Cloud and Aerith." And it's like, shut the fuck up. Anyway,
All right. I'm
so-
glad that they could have been mad about other things I was thinking of, and I'm glad they're not.
Right. So, but there was another novel about Aerith that was released back in 2020, and it was like I think for one of the Ultimani years, and that revealed her backstory as well. So this new one, A Trace of Two Pasts, doesn't reveal too much about Aerith that book didn't already tell us. Whereas the novel about Tifa reveals a couple things, but most of it is related to after she left left Nibelheim for Midgar. So as far as what happened when she was in Nibelheim, it mostly goes over stuff we already knew, like she was friends with the other guys, she talked to Cloud tiny amounts, and then but like it basically gives a bit more insight as to what she was thinking at the time. It's like, so Cloud was just this really shy kid. Like, for instance, one time, like, Tifa has a cat. We learned that. And one time, Cloud rescued Tifa's cat from the mountain, but refused to bring the cat himself. He had to get his mom to bring the cat to Tifa because he was too shy to talk to her. And then basically the only time he ever really talked to her was, like, around that time when it was the water fountain, the water tower. He made the promise. And then we learned that, like, obviously all the other friends of Tifa's had all left for Midgar, and Cloud was the only one where he actually, like, she was actually interested in what happened to him after that, because basically he was, like, enigmatic to her, so she had childhood feelings for him. They reveal that part. But all the
Wait,
stuff
she had a
happened-
crush on him?
Yeah, it reveals that she had a crush on him at the time when they were children.
Okay.
So mostly the news, like, a lot of that stuff is basically similar to, like, we already knew she had a kid. We already had a cat. She didn't have a kid. She was too young.
Wait.
We already knew she had a cat from before Crisis, and we already knew that she was, like, she was outgoing and with other people from the flashback in FF7. The stuff we learn is what happened after Zangan took her to Midgar. And basically what happened is, like, she ended up there, and because she'd still been wounded from Sephiroth, like, Zangan took her to some doctors, but he didn't want to take her to any Shinra doctors because they obviously, you know, they knew about the Nibelheim incident and they would kill her. So instead he took her to some quack doctors, and the quack doctors, they did stitch her up, but they also took money from her.
Okay.
And so they took money from her, and they took a topless pic of her and
what?
shopped it around.
Wait,
But, yeah,
what?
because
Okay. Why? Why are we
very
doing?
nice people.
All right. What are we doing
They're not
now?
very nice people.
Okay.
But
This
basically,
has gone way off the
yeah,
rails.
right. So that happened. So she'd just been like left with this debt from the quack doctors, and that's around the time when she met Barrett and Avalanche, and that's when she bought seventh. I think she worked as a bartender, and then she bought the bar. So she bought Seventh Heaven, started working with Avalanche, and then found the quack doctor and beat him up.
Okay.
What?
And it reveals that she was close friends with Jesse at the time, and that's about it. So now we know what happened to her after Zangan took her to Midgar.
I'm gonna ask Nojima to not write any more novellas. Why?
Right? Right?
Yeah, like, some people will talk like, no, Nojima's the best writer. Blah, blah, blah. He wrote 10.2.5.
That's the thing. Nojima is the most inconsistent writer I've ever seen. Like, how do you go from writing the dialogue in Final Fantasy VII Remake, which I think is legitimately really good, to writing 10.2.5? It's... oh my god.
Well, alright, so years and years pass, there's translators, there's different goals. I don't know. Dialogue and overall story content are two different art forms, in effect.
Yeah, I think that's fair. I'm just saying, like, I do think that the storytelling I think that the writing of 7 Remake is a level of quality that is so far above 10.2.5 that I just think he's the most inconsistent writer I've ever seen.
Okay, I'm gonna pretend the whole topless pics thing never happened, and we're never going to bring it up again. And, we're going to move on now to our other news. There is a tiny bit of news. Not a massive amount of news, but there is a tiny bit of news. First thing, this happened late July. The Sage icon for Final Fantasy XIV has been changed. Before, it was a bunch of swords with holes in them. Now they're swords without holes in them. That's it.
Yeah, it's just, like, basically a non-issue. I mean, this change...
And people care about this?
Apparently the old icon...
Right,
the old icon was...
people got upset about?
The old icon was suggestive...
Adult looters complaining about how... No, it wasn't suggestive. It was triggering... what's the name of that phobia? It's the... Oh,
tryptophobia?
Yeah, it was triggering tryptophobia. So
okay, alright.
The only people... And, you know, these kind of changes happen all the time pre-release, and the only people who really care are complete losers who have nothing better to do than
I was going to say, that seems like the silliest thing.
I'm reading
literally all they...
Sorry, yeah.
Like, literally all they did is re-angle some of the new lifts and fill in all of the holes in the picture. It's a tiny change that, you know, it's just that kind of minor art asset change that's normal in the creative process.
Okay, I'm reading the Lodestone post about it, and yeah, it was the tryptophobia. I wasn't sure why it happened at all. I was just guessing. I'm like, what could it be? Next thing.
Yeah, I don't think anyone who plays Final Fantasy XIV cares about things being suggestive. That is the horniest game in the series.
Yes, extremely so.
Yeah, that sounds...
Next thing, we're going back to the Pixel Remaster, because I forgot about this news thing until I checked my newsreel. And the Final Fantasy Pixel Remasters were review bombed on Steam very briefly, because people were mad that the games were not coming out on consoles.
They are coming out on consoles, guys. Give them time. Like, I mean, come on. Like,
it will probably happen eventually because Square Enix has money.
Yeah, exactly. Like the chance of this never coming to console is 0.
These people fucking released Final Fantasy 3 on the Ouya.
Exactly.
They did. Yeah. You know what? Ouya. That's a console that existed.
Well, yeah, there you go. They're releasing the Pixel Masters, but only for the Ouya. Get ready, guys.
No. They'll release them only for the Atari VLS. Is it?
The Apple Newton.
Yeah. The Apple Pippin.
We had to upload all the images of the Ouya's buttons on the wiki, and there's like 30 of them. Just because of
really
one game that got released. There's like 30 buttons. It's so stupid. Like,
Thank you for all of that work, the proclaimed Stradivarius of controllers.
So, anyway.
Yeah. Next thing, Final Fantasy XI has new content as of August. There are patch notes. That game does still exist. Yeah, that's mostly the reason I'm bringing this up.
They still get monthly updates. It's mostly just cycling out endgame stuff. But I think the last update was another chapter of the Voracious Resurgence.
Yes, it is. Voracious Resurgence update. This looks like a fairly beefy update. There's festivals. There's a lot of stuff here.
Voracious Resurgence is story updates. So
Isn't that game like literally 20 years old though?
It is, just about now.
And they ended it and then unended it because the ending managed to make them enough money that they realized, oh hey, we can keep running this thing that literally still runs on PS2 server code and still make a profit. So let's fucking go.
Hey, I say keep going. I mean, Ultima Online's still running, isn't it?
And also, that is probably what killed the planned mobile remake of 11, because from what people can tell, Nexon only really went in on it because they thought that Square was about to end 11 at the time, and then Square went and decided, oh, we're going to unend 11.
Hey. Anything that is ended can be unended. There could be a Final Fantasy XI rebuild. It's possible. Last news story for this month is that Final Fantasy XIV, the one that people actually like, not 11, which people like 11, fine.
People liked 11
Okay, all right. I stepped in it. I stepped in it.
In the sun.
I didn't need. I don't.
11 is an EverQuest era MMO, which is the genre that appeals to masochists.
Okay. The more popular Final Fantasy MMO, the one that is taking the world by storm right now, is getting a cookbook officially. It's out November 9th. Yep, it's getting a cookbook of real food. It includes an exclusive foreword by Yoshi P, instructions, photos, tips, etc., etc. I might actually buy this because I want to have a taste of Final Fantasy 11. I mean, 14.
Yeah, it is.
Whatever it is.
It is interesting because, like, the culinary Sims in 14, they tend to be, like, the most complicated recipes and stuff because they are somewhat based on real-world recipes.
Okay, wait a second. Yeah. Culinary Simps?
Symph.
Oh, Symph. Okay, alright, I heard something different.
No, the culinary Simp would be a Nojima book.
I think that's what that's what my dating profile is going to be. I'm a culinary simp.
Well, yeah, don't worry. I heard the same thing as you.
Okay.
Don't worry.
All right.
Does this book include any vegan options?
I don't know. All I have is the tweet in front of me. I assume there must be.
Definitely.
Yeah.
I mean,
if it does, I'll pick it up.
I mean, not not like super vegan and vegetarian friendly, but there are definitely plenty of vegetarian and vegan recipes in the game. It's just a matter of which ones they pick.
I also know there is a small Final Fantasy cooking community. I think all of Final Fantasy 15's recipes were actually created by fans, and there's like some kind of cookbook you can find online, and I'm pretty sure there's already a Final Fantasy 14 cooking channel that some fan ran. Mm. So maybe that person's involved. I don't know.
Food on the ground, like in Final Fantasy 15.
Final Fantasy 15 had a big cooking element to it, so I can understand why people did it.
I feel like they put most of the budget into the cooking, actually.
Yeah, the food is the best looking part of the game.
It is.
I know, it's weird,
It is.
Yeah, Final Fantasy 15 has the most well-rendered toast in all of gaming.
I have a fantasy of having wiki people over to my house and I can feed you Final Fantasy food. It would be nice.
But every
I would
single
love
time
to have you guys
every time
all
eating,
over
you have to
pizza.
like say, "Oh, I've discovered a new recipe," and you
Yeah.
just make it, and it's like cactar toes with chocobo giblet.
I'd love to have you guys all over to cook pizza for you lot. Like, my pizzas are the best.
One thing we would have to have is sea salt ice cream, though.
Sure.
Yeah.
Sounds good to me.
Yeah. Oh shit! I just realized when we were talking about other video games, I didn't talk about Neo: The World Ends with You at all.
Sorry.
Yeah, I think
I'd like to play that. I haven't gotten around to it yet.
it's great. It's actually great. So, we live in
It's brilliant.
Yeah. We live in a time with Kingdom Hearts 3, Final Fantasy VII Remake, and TWEWY 2. And yeah, they're all great games. Anyway,
Number a golden age.
yeah, I mean, maybe I'm not even going to edit this back. I'm just going to go, we're running like this. Anyway, we're roughly at an hour, but I think we have time for one last bit of content. This one final bonus discussion we can do here. Everyone here at the Final Fantasy Wiki have played a lot of Final Fantasy games, but nobody on Earth, as far as I know, has played all of them. So
There's
I'm just
someone out there who played all of them. Like, someone out
I really doubt it. I really doubt it. There are so many.
That guy
There's so many Japan only ones. What's up?
The guy who came on the Discord and got to level 99 in Final Fantasy 7 was just Barret and Cloud in the first reactor. That's that guy.
Yep.
That guy
Yep.
is the one who played them all.
Oh, you know what?
That's the one.
Wait. Who's that director that we were always trolled about? The one that was supposed to be doing Final
Ito.
Fantasy. Yeah, Hiroyuki Ito. He did Neo TWEWY. Except it's not that Hiroyuki
is it?
Ito. It's a different Hiroyuki Ito.
I think there's two of them, right?
Oh.
Yeah, there's two. Yeah. Yeah, so turns out a Hiroyuki Ito who's not Hiroyuki Ito made Neo TWEWY. I'm 90% sure of this. If this is wrong, I'm going to cut this out. But, alright.
He's evil Cloud. No, we've said it. It's true.
Okay, it's true. We are, yeah. Anyway, rewinding back, now that we slowly disintegrate towards the end of this, I want to just ask everybody, what is the one Final Fantasy game that is most on your bucket list? It's not a game that's coming out, because we all must play Final Fantasy 16 before we die, but this is a game that came out in the past that you've wanted to play for years and years now, but for whatever reason whatsoever, you have not gotten to it yet. So, let's start with Scathis, because he's top of the list on Discord here.
Okay, so in prep, I said dive to Haunted Adventures of Sorbet, but I'll answer perhaps an even more spicy take, which actually is Lightning Returns Final Fantasy 13.
Ooh.
Game I've not played.
Ooh, that is very
do
spicy.
I actually want to play it.
Yeah.
I'm not sure if I actually want to play it, but at the same time, I kind of do.
See,
You know?
I've actually heard decent things about it. I've heard people who said 13-2 is the worst game they've ever played, but Lightning Returns is alright.
I've seen
I
gameplay of it.
think Lightning Returns is the best of the trilogy, because the main story is about, as dire as 13's main story usually is, but during the side quests, Lightning has just completely stopped giving a fuck about everything and just clearly hates everything and will make fun of everything. I think I've said this before in other places. One of the side quests in Lightning Returns starts with Lightning telling a child actor that her existence is meaningless.
A child. Wait. It's a child actor or a child that is an actor?
A child actor. A child that is an actor.
Okay.
Or was an actor.
Wow.
Okay. I
There's
think
one
the
side
game would be
quest
so
where
bad it's good. I feel like it would be an appropriate experience. I feel like we should sit down and like I stream it or something. And I'll play the game.
I
feel
would.
Like we've made so many Stragger Return jokes of the past like 20 years that I feel like I have to play this game at some point in my life, right? I can't.
There's one side quest where she goes on a date with a guy and she spends the entire time reminding him that the only reason she agreed to this is because the restaurant has really good steak.
You know what? I respect it. You know what? Lightning, you get your steak, however you gotta do it. You go, girl. You know what? Fine. I've seen gameplay of this, and it looks like fucking... Oh my god, it looks like puke. Like, it's just... All the styles...
Lightning Returns?
It looks like puke. Like, every texture, every art style, every fashion piece, none of it goes together. It is like some kind of avant-garde attempt to destroy... It's like an attempt to just destroy every semblance of continuity and sanity.
Yeah, that's the chaos.
Yeah. Chaos.
Look, and it ends with Lightning going to the Eiffel Tower and visiting the Louvre to go look at some art. I mean, how could I not play this game?
It's not quite true, but you're getting close. Oh, man.
There is a certain je ne sais quoi there.
Yeah. Alright. Oh, man. I don't know how anyone's going to top that. SomeColorMage, what game do you want to play?
Okay, yeah, my answer's probably not going to be as interesting, because I do have a morbid curiosity about 11. It's the only main series game that I haven't touched. And, it's also, from what I hear, it's nowhere near as awful to everyone and everything as it used to be. And the main reason that I don't touch it is because I already pay Square a bunch of money to play 14. I'm not going to add a second subscription on top of that for something I'd probably just pop in and go, oh, yeah, that's still kind of ass, and then just drop.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think
I respect it.
Like, I think that, so, Final Fantasy 11 is something, like, even though I haven't played it, like, there are quite a few 11 characters that appear in the Opera Omnia, the City of Final Fantasy mobile game. And so, you learn a little bit about what the world is like through that, and the world itself seems kind of interesting. Like, there seems to be a decent amount of world building in it. It's just, yeah, like, I don't know if I could be so much of a time sink.
Yeah, I'm never gonna play the MMOs, and I just accept this. But I respect anyone who does. I mean,
I would love to play 14 if I had the time and space in my schedule to play it, because it's such a great game, and you can fight Kafka in it. That's all I need to know that I would play this game if I had the chance.
Yeah, for all we know, Kefka could be in Lightning Returns. I mean,
he's hidden in the code base somewhere.
He might just be in the normal game. Has anyone even played this game before?
Final Fantasy. I have not. I don't know anything about it other than there's something called Xylart.
The only thing I know about it is that there's time travel or something, and then Lightning ends up in Paris. And also,
there is time travel. There is time travel in. Oh, are you on about Lightning Returns? Because I was on about 11.
Half you're talking about 11, half you're talking about Lightning Returns.
I was saying there is time travel in FF11.
There's got to be time travel. There's time travel in all these things.
Yeah, time travel goes back to the very first one.
Yeah.
So,
Technobliterator, you can go with your.
So my answer to this. It might be interesting, but not because it's funny. Like, so my answer is the game that I really wish I had played and completed is Final Fantasy Tactics. I've heard such good things about Tactics.
You should play Final Fantasy Tactics.
And when I look at it, like, the setting is ridiculously good. The writing is ridiculously good. The soundtrack is pretty good too. The job system is great. Stuff. My problem is I fucking suck tactical RPGs. Like, I tried XCOM and I just couldn't get far in it because I was always losing people. Like, my characters are always dying. And, you know, every time I've tried to get through tactics, like, I would get through, like, the first little bits and then, like, nope, I can't play this game. I suck. Like, I'm too bad at it. Like, so, Tactics is a game that I feel like I feel like it should be up there with like my top 5. It should be one of my favorite Final Fantasies, but I just suck at it.
I'm gonna ask you, is it Dorter Trade City that you're always stuck at?
Is it which one?
Dorter Trade City. Trade City of Dorter, or whatever it's called. Depends on the version.
I do recognize the name, and it might be. It might be there where I keep lying.
That's one of the early maps that's a pain in the ass.
This is the third map in the game, and it's impossible, right from the start.
Yeah, Tactics is a game that gets easier the further you get into it.
Yeah.
Interesting. Well, I heard there was like, if you level up too much, then the Chocobos will stomp you in this one.
Yes, that is a thing. The random encounters scale to your level.
Yeah, but early on you have to level grind like real hard to get like a functional party going with at least like one black mage and a few knights and stuff.
Yeah,
anyway.
So basically, if I followed the right kind of walkthrough or something to help me get through those bits of tactics, then I'm sure if I tried it with that knowledge in hand, then I would love it and it would be one of my favorites in the series. But as it is, I suck at it, so I don't know when I'll be able to get through it.
There is a walkthrough that was written by me, except I know for a fact I hid at least one bit of completely false knowledge in that. Just, I put one thing that was completely wrong just to fuck with people, because I'm that kind of person, or at least I was.
Is it about Barbacy again?
What? No. But... yeah.
So I'm surprised no one's answered World of Final Fantasy.
I
think that's a hidden gem in the series. Yeah, it's a great game. It's a hidden gem.
I didn't finish it. It is actually, it's very good. I kind of burnt out after a bit, but yeah, no, I would recommend it.
I'm yet to finish it. I play through it every time I fly back home to England, because I have the PS4 still there. And it's fun. I think it's a hidden gem. It's a really nice fan servicey game, that everyone should check out.
There's a very tiny cloud.
I played it, never really got far into it because I guess I just don't really have that high of a tolerance for like the Pokemon subgenre of RPG.
Oh yeah, I get you on that.
Except for Shin Megami Tensei, because Shin Megami Tensei is fucking mess. But I just don't play a lot of that kind of game.
Yeah, that's fair.
I mean, also I haven't answered yet, so you didn't know. I could have said World of Final Fantasy.
Well, I knew that you'd played it, so I knew you wouldn't answer that.
Yeah, okay, alright. Anyway, the Final Fantasy game that is on my bucket list, and I thought this was going to be the most tasteless answer, but then Scathe had to come in and just completely blow it up.
Right out the gate.
Yeah, just like, I can't top that. Even Sorbet Returns, or whatever that Facebook game is, which I played too, actually.
Dive to Hunt.
Dive to Hunt.
The Adventures of Sorbet, and it was a MySpace game. Get it right?
Yes, I have played that. That's not on my bucket list. That's done. Nobody else can because it's taken down, but I've done it. I could be the one to play every Final Fantasy game, maybe. Anyway, my answer is Final Fantasy X too. I played 10 minutes of it, and I was about 15 years old, which means I was even more of an asshole than I am now. And even more of an asshole then than I was an asshole on the wiki, which is one hell of an asshole. I mean, Jesus. So...
A 15-year-old teenage boy seems like the exact right age to play that game.
No, not at the time. At the time, you were not allowed to like girly things at all if you were a boy. This was just forbidden.
Yeah, and also like it's a very long time before you get to the real stripperifics.
So like it starts with hardcore J-pop, and I could not. I was not in a place where I was allowed to do that. You were not allowed to do that in 2006.
The thing I think is a little weird about 10.2 is that, like, it's a really girly game marketed towards girls, but I'm pretty sure it's mostly made by men.
Yeah, that kind of comes through.
That's pretty normal for creative industries.
Right. I mean, I guess, yeah, it is. Well, definitely for the time. Like, I mean, these days, like, they couldn't, like, for instance, make I don't know, like, a superhero movie where the main character is female and not have a female director. Like, these days they couldn't get away with that, but this is 2000 whatever.
I feel like you still could. I mean, I
feel like
know.
you'd get a significant amount of backlash.
I'm gonna say Final Fantasy
backlash,
X-2, from what I've seen of that game, that is clearly a game made by dudes, and it's like marketed towards women, but it's not made by women, which is the main weirdness of it.
And I don't think
but
it's
like,
appealing to women or maybe humans.
Yeah.
Right? I was gonna say,
like,
but,
I'm not really sure if I'd say that 10.2 was marketed towards women. In fact, it almost feels like the opposite, because I mean, you look at demographic data, and also a lot of historical advertising. RPGs used to be like the genre that you advertise to women in general, because it's the thinking man's game, and boys weren't allowed to have critical thought.
Depends on the genre of RPG. I would say Western RPGs were very much, this is a boys game. Fallout, that's a man's game.
Still are.
War never changes.
That still is the case.
War never changes.
I know.
But yeah,
I know plenty of women who do like Skyrim and Dragon Age and stuff. But other than that, I would say that is the case. That,
we need to be clear.
This
is 2004 when this game. No, even earlier. This is like 2002, right? 2003.
No, it came out 2004, 3 or 4. Because...
Yeah, it's a very different time already.
Final Fantasy X-2 was made with reused assets from Final Fantasy X that they kind of stitched together into a new game.
That's the other reason I haven't played it. I didn't respect that choice at the time. Now I do. I'm like, yeah.
I actually love, my favorite part about 10.2 is that Xanarkand becomes an amusement park. And they just like, it's like a cheap, terrible amusement park showing off your exploits.
But I think there is some, there are some redeeming qualities for 10.2.
That's not an ironic like. I actually like that choice. I think
like there are plenty of like. I'll go. So there are main qualities for 10.2, such as the fact that you do get to see like parts of Spira and how they've changed, like, and it is genuinely interesting to see what this world would look like post Yevon. And there's an answer to that. What you have like they're called, I don't remember what they're called, but they're like the young something or others that are.
Youth League.
Yevon and the Young
Youth League. That's right. There's the
Youth
League versus New Yevon, where like New Yevon are like, okay, well the old Yevon was bad, but we're gonna like still keep what made them great and like try and like take a more conservative approach to how things will be from now on. And the Youth League are like, no. And then the Youth League are like the revolutionaries, like, no, we need to like completely reform society. There's interesting stuff in there, and most people I know who say they do like 10.2 point out things like the battle system and the job system, and that stuff is interesting. The problem is the overall package is not a very strong, cohesive product. Like, it's the fact that like it's ridiculously hard, for instance, to 100% this game, because if you make a certain choice, then it's impossible.
I don't care about 100%ing things.
You're supposed to in-game plus and do both of those routes so that you have a huge buffer zone, because like the maximum percentage you can actually get is something like 125 or so. Because the two routes are counted separately.
I'm not doing that. I'm not 100%ing anything. I've never 100%ed any game. So, other than me...
For 10.2, I'd say that's the correct choice, because the good ending of 10.2 kind of shits on the entire thematic mood of the game up until that point.
Hey, the good ending of 10.2 sets up 10.2.5, and that's invaluable.
Like with
you're right.
with the ability of hindsight and not being a teenager, it is very possible to look at 10-2 and think that it's mostly a really good, not exceptionally told, but still a good story about letting go of the past and moving on. And then the game decides that the best ending is to reward Yuna for refusing to let go of the past and giving her boyfriend back.
I want.
Be real
yep.
Though.
Yeah, Skate.
We're talking about the story of this game, but like 75% of this game is pushing people in bird masks and digging in the desert.
Okay.
I've actually played this game, and that's what it actually is like.
I played it, and I
the
think
stuff that's actually required
for
the main story, and not all of the endless drudgery aside locations, aside from Xanakin, which is like you said, actually good.
I don't remember how far I got in this game, but I got slightly past the fucking massage scene, which made me so uncomfortable.
Yeah, we don't need to. We can move past that.
It's so bad. Yeah.
Here's what I want for Yuna.
There's a lot of stupid shit in 10-2. There's a lot of stupid shit.
Okay. What I want for Yuna is I want her to not care. I mean, she can move on. Let's have that. I want her to be in her 20s. She has her 2 girlfriends, and for her to just live her life. Maybe she dates a dude just to have steak. I respect that choice. Anyway. That seems what 10-2 is. It's like
10-3.
Yeah, it just seems like incoherent kind of nonsense. But now that's sort of
it's like how they took one of the best characters from the original 10, which is Riku, and they made her into like a complete caricature of what Riku is like, and she becomes extremely annoying in 10-2.
Riku,
so disappointing.
Riku was pretty damn annoying in 10 already, so I don't see any change.
Riku went in the world's longest binge and completely fried all her brain cells. It's very sad. It's really
I think
tragic.
if you thought Riku was annoying in 10, and I mean, I'll grant you that there are some moments where she kind of gets on my nerves. Like, if you think she's annoying in 10, then you're like 10-2, don't play it because she's way worse in 10-2.
Okay.
It's so disappointing because I really liked her in 10.
I think the conclusion is that Lightning Returns is actually the best game that's been suggested so far, and we don't play it.
Hey, tactics.
I'm not doing that. That's just not happening. The truth is, I wanted to play 10-2 for a while, and I don't know if that's ever going to happen. I'm definitely not playing Lightning Returns. You're not bringing that evil on me. That's just not happening.
I'm sorry, but you're gonna put in The World That Never Was 2, whatever, into the you're gonna slip the disc right into the PlayStation, and you're gonna turn it on. It's gonna be Lightning Returns. It's your curse now.
But I didn't buy a disc. I bought it digital because discs are the way of the past. Now we eat games through pills.
It's okay. PS3 games don't work on the PS4 and PS5. It's safe.
Okay. Yeah. All right. So I guess we should wrap up unless anyone has anything else. Is there anything else? I guess
we have a new skin.
Yeah, oh yeah, actual wiki talk. Yeah, we have a new skin. I forgot we are a wiki.
That's about it.
Logo, and it's awful.
Yeah, I don't like it.
Bruh. Actually, I didn't make the logo, so anyway. I got us the logo, but I didn't make it myself.
Why does the new fandom logo look like a meteor?
Not the chocobo, but the meteor.
Oh, you
Yeah.
mean the fandom logo? Oh, I thought you meant the wiki logo.
No.
I was like,
Chocobo, the meteor.
Yeah, they're talking about Dylan was about to love bomb.
Yeah.
oh, okay. Yeah, the fandom logo is like, I don't know. It's like, it's silly, but whatever.
Fandom is doing what Square Enix is doing and making changes constantly, even though changes may or may not be needed. And as a matter of fact, the old ways were the best. So just bring back Monobook and we can be fine.
It's the wiki of Pixel Remaster.
It is, yep. Is there any other big wiki news? I mean, I guess we're adding all the Pixel Remaster stuff as time goes by.
Yeah, we're adding the Pixel Remaster stuff, and in a couple weeks or two, maybe I'll come back to writing the integrate content. Like, I've written about half of it. I need to finish it off. But Rift Apart took too much of my time.
Okay.
If you subscribe to the Wiki's Patreon, I will play Lightning Returns.
Yeah, you have to pay us in Cayman Island dollars, remember?
If you pay me $20, I will buy Lightning Returns.
If one of you sets up a Patreon, I would be fully for it. But yeah, I had to pay the hosting for this podcast now.
How much even is Lightning Returns on Steam right now?
It's $20. Look it up. It's $20. If someone gets the $20 tier on Patreon, I will play Lightning Returns live on stream in my Lightning cosplay, which in fact is nothing because I don't have a Lightning cosplay. But
Okay.
for $50, I will buy some eclairs and eat them.
You know,
Skate.
I've always...
Skaith, whatever you're wearing right now, there's a good chance that Lightning has that very clothing as an alternate costume in that game.
I know, she has everything. It's just
She wears everything. Alright.
I've always said that I one day want to cosplay Oran, but I actually think I want to cosplay Sabin.
Okay. I'm gonna go wrap us up here.
You get the $70 tier on our Patreon. Dirge of Cerberus, Final Fantasy VII, coming to a home near you. $75 only.
Oh,
yeah,
man.
with the Sabin cosplay as I play it.
That's another game I played that, oh my god. Oh, man.
I played that game too.
Oh, it's not good. It's not good at all.
I have not played it. I have would deadass stream me playing it for the first time in my Sabin cosplay and see how bad it is.
We are descending into complete incoherence towards the end here, so we should probably wrap up. Alright. We are the Final Fantasy Wiki. I was BlueHighwind, that's Scath, that's SomeColorMage, that's Technobliterator. The website is called finalfantasy.wiki.
Finalfantasy.fandom.com.
Okay? It's something like that. This podcast is produced by me and hosted by me. Our podcast music is La Montanas de los Caballos Jovenes, which is the Mount Koltz theme, which was made by, I have it here, XPRTNovice from the Balance and Ruin album from Overclock Remix. We'll be back next month with more stuff. We are a podcast that you can download. We have a feed. We're on YouTube still. At some point, maybe we'll show up at Apple Podcasts. I have to go and email support for that, and I've been dragging my feet. And that's that. I should have like some kind of sign-off thing, right? Like podcast end with like a sign-off thought. Does anyone have any like quote I could do or something? Anyone have anything for that?
Like a really big gavel
There's
or a
gotta
hammer
be-
to just bang on the table.
Okay, let me think of a Final Fantasy quote. Alright, I got something. Too late into their sorrow do those who misplace their trust in gods learn their fate. How's that?
Love it.
Love it?
That's a great one, except the accent was terrible.